With this brief video, I'm going to just discuss classification of variables, and then we'll talk about measurement scales as well. So basically we have classification can either be quantitative or qualitative. Okay, so that's our first choice. So it's either one or the other of these. So think of this kind of as one classification bubble. It's either qualitative or quantitative. The next classification bubble is either discrete, which is also known as categorical, or continuous. So these are, I call them classification pairs. So when you're being asked to give the classification of a variable, for every variable you should be giving me two. It's either quantitative or qualitative as your first pairing, and as your second, discrete or continuous. So whenever you're asked classification, it is going to be an answer with two things. So classification is quantitative or qualitative, and as well as discrete or continuous. So I'll give an example. So, okay, let's look at, is it quantitative or qualitative? Now, when we think of a scale of 0 to 30, that has a quantity difference. 30 is 30 points higher than 0. So you could actually subtract one number from another and get a difference. So that is a true qualitative or quantitative difference. I'm sorry, a true quantitative difference, because there is an actual value difference. Now, when I'm saying from 0 to 30 as far as anxiety, we need to decide also, is it discrete or is it continuous? And categorical and discrete mean the same thing. So we would choose continuous because of the fact that it can be any value from 0 to 30, any numerical value. So I could actually circle, or come up with a number of 2.55. Now, if for some reason, when we're talking about assessments with the number 0 to 30, often we can look at anywhere in between each major increment. So I'm going to assume that since how it's not specified that it's whole numbers 0 to 30, that it could be any number in between. So my response specifically, and it's gonna be different, right? Because now we're looking at really a quality difference. The reason being is that there isn't an exact difference to where you could subtract. You can't subtract low from high and find out a difference. These are very subjective quality differences. Low anxiety could maybe also include no anxiety, right? We don't know what the exact boundaries are. So it's more of a quality difference. And then because these are categories and there isn't like decimals involved, we know this is discrete data. So when we're, which is page. So let's say I have the variable that I'm measuring, let's say, anxiety, okay? And maybe anxiety is you're giving them an assessment, and the assessment is scored anywhere from 0 to 30. Any number in between 0 to 30, 0 meaning no anxiety, 30 meaning the most extreme anxiety you could possibly have. So this is your variable, anxiety, and how it's being measured is how you're defining it numerically. So if I say, what are the classifications of this variable? You need to decide. That's when you go back saying it's only whole numbers. Now you're talking about discrete. But when we're talking for what classification is anxiety being measured on, I would specifically state quantitative and continuous classification. So this is key to understand that you're going to have two classifications for every variable. Okay? So let's try another one. Let's say we're looking at example, which is anxiety. So anxiety, since how we have it anywhere from 0 to 30, we actually have a 0. 0 would mean no anxiety. So anxiety, 0 to 30, now we're looking at a ratio measurement scale. So now we have our classifications, 1 and 2, and then we have our 1 measurement scale, which is ratio, to fit that anxiety scenario. Now, if we let me see here. How about we're going to look at anxiety in a different way. Okay? So we're going to look at whether we have low anxiety, moderate anxiety, or high anxiety. So these are the ways that we are categorizing anxiety. So when we're looking at anxiety being measured in this way, we need to go back to our classifications being measured on a scale of low, moderate, or high. Now we're talking about specifically qualitative and discrete classifications. So again, we have two. So now we have two examples. Oops. If I could spell right, it'd be even better, wouldn't it? I'm going to erase that really quick so I can give you the right spelling. There we go. Sorry about that. So now we know classifications and kind of how to organize those. But then you're going to be asked about the measurement scales. So often the question is, provide the classifications and measurement scale for a variable. So if we go back, and if we kind of go to the next with anxiety low, moderate, high, this is just a ranking of things. So with our anxiety low, moderate, high, we're looking at an ordinal measurement scale. So when you are looking at trying to figure out, so here we have our first classification, our second classification, and then our one of the 4 measurement scales, we have qualitative and discrete classifications for the low, moderate, high, and an ordinal measurement scale. Because ultimately, our measurement scales, let's look at what measurement scales are. Okay, so remember there's 4. There's 4 different types of measurement scales. We have nominal, we have ordinal, we have interval, and we have ratio. So I'm going to kind of make some little notes here. For nominal data, just think name or category, okay? So there isn't really a true numerical value. It's more of a name, a category that is named. With ordinal, think ranking. That's a rank or order. Okay? With interval, think no zero or arbitrary zero. So that means basically the zero doesn't mean an absence. And ratio means a true zero. There is a zero, and that zero is meaningful. It means an absence. So these are ways that we can think about measurement scales. So let's go back to measurement scales. If we notice, this has a true zero, so we're looking at ratio, if you think about that. So think about this. This is merely a ranking. So if we look rank, that's under ordinal, an order. So low is lower than high. There is an order, but there isn't an amount difference to where we could go, okay, it's exactly this much of a difference. It's just a subject. As well as on labs, you're going to have a question that looks basically just like this. Name